Today's session is using student maps, and what we're going to be focusing on is how to create a student map to enter data into GradeXpert in a single Excel-like spreadsheet. This means that you don't need to use any other method of putting student information into GradeXpert. It's all put on a single entry screen. When we're in GradeXpert, maps are accessed through the Students and Results screen. And then when we bring up our student list, you'll see that there's a Student Maps button in the top corner. If you can't see that button, it means that you haven't been given access to Student Maps, and that can be adjusted in the settings screen for each user. If I click on the Student Maps button, you'll see that there are a number of maps that have already been set up in this example database, and I'll just load one up to show you what it looks like. At the moment we're just looking at a single Year 4 class in our student list, and so what I may do is bring up a map that we've set up called Year 4 Literacy, for example. What GradeXpert does is it brings up as much information as it can find for the different assessments that we've said we want to see or enter data for into this map. So you can see our Oswell's English Reading and Viewing for 2014 Semester 1, followed by 2014 Semester 2, followed by 2015 Semester 1, which is data that we're currently going to be entering. So we can see historical data for previous semesters, as well as information that we're being asked to enter as teachers directly into the map as well. These maps can contain any assessment. We're not just talking about Oswell's, which is the Victorian curriculum. You can use this for NAPLAN data, PM reading levels, on-demand information. Virtually any assessment that you have on your assessment schedule can be set up in a map for data entry or just for viewing purposes. And if it's for viewing purposes only, you'll see that the text is in a lighter gray, which indicates it's not editable. Text in black indicates it is editable. And so what I'll do is I'll bring up another different map. For example, number 8, Running Records and South Australian Spelling Test, is another map that we've created where we can see information for Running Records 2015 Term 1, South Australian Spelling Test for 2015 Term 1, and for reading, or for reference purposes, we've got on-demand reading and on-demand English data from 2014 in the same map. I'll bring up a third map, and let's have a look at, let's say this is a map we're looking at for our specialist teachers. So this is for report writing time. You can see this particular map has art work habits, which you can select from a drop-down list, Japanese work habits, music, PE, and a comment section where we can type in our comments for art, as well as areas to put our actual semester Oswell's score in for both arts subjects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a section called Map Settings, and this is where we can create new maps or edit the details of maps that we've already got set up. So if I click Map Settings, it loads up the Map Settings screen, and currently the map that we're looking at is our Year 3 Specialists map. And this whole screen has got information on it that allows us to set up different years, different terms, weeks, and different assessments. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to create a new map by clicking the New Map button, and this lets me start completely fresh. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say Literacy Analysis 2015. So I'm just giving the map a description, and at this point we start saying what assessments do we want to see in this map. So I'm just going to click the Add Assessment button, and now we can pick from any assessment that we've got set up in GradeXpert. So let's bring in Running Records, and let's also add in our South Australian Spelling Test and PAT Comprehension. So I've now got 3 tests that I'm going to see on my map. and I'm going to look at the raw score for running records, the raw score for South Australian spelling test, and the scale score for PAT comprehension. You can change what you're looking at in the map by choosing a different result type to show from this drop-down list. If we wanted to see our PAT comprehension scale score as well as Stay 9, what we would do is just add another copy of PAT comprehension. So I'll click Add Assessments, and I'll select PAT comprehension a second time. And so all we need to do now is say, instead of the scale score, we want to look at the Stay 9 value. So this is going to allow us to put in, or at least view, information for these different assessments for this period, and we can even filter it down to a specific term. So let's say we want to see everything for term 1 in 2015. That's pretty much all you have to do. If I save and close this map now, I can load up my Literacy Analysis 2015 map, which is the new one that I've just created. And this will contain the information that either has been entered previously or we can start entering now. Now, because these are grayed out, it means that they're for reading, read only. What we want to do is we actually want to make them editable, and so that's a fairly straightforward process. We go back into the student map, click on Map Settings, and we then have a column called Allow Edit, and this allows us to change any of those columns from read only to editable. And this is a big difference from GradeXpert 7 to GradeXpert 8, whereas in GradeXpert 7 you could only view data in a map, you couldn't actually edit any of that information. So if I click Save and Close now, the map itself is reloaded, and you'll see that all these column headings are now black text instead of grey text, and we can start typing our information directly in. At the same time as doing that, we can look at or type in information for South Australian spelling test, which we can see is a raw score from 0 to 70. So you can put in any information you need for those. Oops, 444 is too much. And if we then want to put in our PAT data for term 1, there's our scale score and the Stay 9, followed by the 188 and 5. So you can see here the map can be used to contain any information that we may want to look at any point in time, because the information is read from each student's history, and as we save the information that we enter into a map, it's saved to the student's history as well. The map itself doesn't contain any data, it is just almost a window to the data that is saved in each student history. I'm just going to go back to that map settings and show you a couple of other things. I'm not going to save that data just at the moment. Okay. So in the map, you can see that we can add more items over here. At the moment, we're looking at 2015 term 1. What we can do at this point is say if we wanted to see our running records data for 2015 term 2 in the same map, we just add another assessment, running records, and put in term 2. And we can even put in running records term 3, and we can put in running records term 4. And we can make these all editable. And what we see now is a progression of data, term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, of running records for whichever group of students we're looking at over here. And you can change the group of students you're looking at simply by choosing a different class from this drop-down list for the same map. So if I want to look at my year 3s, I just pick a year 3 class, and the map is reloaded containing information for the students for the classes that we're looking at. And we can just start entering information for running records, South Australian Spelling Test, PAT Scale Score, and PAT Stay 9. Actually, that has got PAT Comprehension. That just needs to be a bit wider, and we can see the full test name. If this is a map being used by a teacher who may not be familiar with all the teachers or with all the students, what we can do is also view the map by photos. So what we're seeing now is a map containing all the information that we've set it up to view, but you can see the students' photos down here as well. As we scroll down the list, you can see it's quite useful to be able to select the student's test and see their name and picture right next to the results that you're entering. So as you can probably see by now, maps have got a number of uses. They can be used for tracking progress over time. They can be used for data entry. A lot of schools use maps to set up their entire assessment schedule for a whole semester or the entire year, and use that to ensure teachers are putting data in at the correct time of year. Because what you can do is you can also say running records 2015 term 1 week 2, term 1 week 4. So let's go back to the map settings, and we'll just change some of this information. So let's say this is all running records term 1, but we're doing it in week 2, week 4, week 6, and week 8. You can use any combination of terms, weeks, and semesters to identify when those tests were done. So we can see now we've got 2015 week 2, week 4, week 6, and week 8. So we can actually track their progress down to specific weeks within the single term. There are a number of other types of items you can add to a map. For example, indicators can be put in. So I'm just going to click Add Indicators, and you may want to use this as a way to tell your EAL students. For example, I want to see my EAL students in my map, and I want to see students who are on reading recovery in the map as well. So we've got these two indicators here. You can change the order of these columns quite easily simply by highlighting the row that you want to move and using the up and down blue arrows to change the order of the columns. So what I've done here is I've said first column is going to show me students who are EAL, second column will show me students who are reading recovery, and from then on we've got our assessment outcomes. So let's have a look at how that comes up. So you can see EAL, reading recovery. If there were any students that were part of these groups, they would appear on this list. Let's just go back to our student list format and load up a few more students to see if we can bring up any that have those indicators set up. So I'm just going to select every year 3 student, all 125 students. And it's now loading up the map data for all those assessments for these students as well. And of course there are none who have those indicators, but if for example Lee Ames was an ESL or EAL student, you would see EAL in that box. Students who are reading recovery would say reading recovery in these boxes, and you would very easily be able to identify which groups any of the students that you're looking at the data for belong to. I'm just going to go back into map settings for a moment, because there are a number of other items that you can adjust. Firstly, you don't just need a term, a week or semester. You can actually use a month as well. So if this, for example, South Australian spelling test, if you didn't want it divided up by a term, let's just get rid of the term. Let's say that is just done in May each year. So all we've done now is we've removed the term, we have no week or semester, and we're identifying those results by May 2015. There are some other things that we can do, such as adding in attendance rates. That's only really useful if you're using GradeXpert for attendance. But what that means is that you can click on a row where you want to add a new item in, click Add Attendance Rate. So let's put it at the bottom, and we can say show me my GradeXpert attendance for semester 1. And that would show it as a percentage. Let's move that up a bit higher. When it loads up the data for these students, we'd be able to see the attendance rate right next to the indicators and the assessment outcomes that we've set up. So you can see the attendance rate for 2015 semester 1 would appear in this list when we load up the map. I'm just going to reduce the number of students we're looking at so that it's a bit quicker to load up. When we go back into student maps, you can see there you can have dozens or hundreds of different maps set up. I'm just going to bring up this item that says end of year handover information. So teachers can use this to get a snapshot view of student outcomes at the end of the previous year. So you can see here we've got South Australian spelling test results from 2014 semester 2, their spelling age and their raw score, the SRA assessment, which is a book level, Maths Invaders, Junior Senior, Oswell's data. So this is very useful to be used as a snapshot of information at pretty much any point in time. So you can have an end of year handover for 2015, for 2014, for 2013 and so on. There's no real upper limit to the number of items that you can have showing on a map. Now these maps you can also sort by any column. So you can see we've got some English assessments and maths assessments in the last column. If I click on the column heading, if I want to see my English writing assessment results and I just click on it, you can see we're now going from the lowest score down to the highest score. And you can really sort on pretty much any column. If you click on the column heading a second time, you'll see the sort order changes to the opposite direction. So at the moment we're going from highest to lowest. You can see the little down arrow in the column heading is telling us that. If we click it a second time, it sorts it in the opposite order. So these maps can be sorted by literally any column that you have here, including items that have comments. And if I double click on a cell in a map, it will bring up a graph of those results, and at the moment we're talking about reading and viewing for all the students that we're listing on the screen. And we're looking at our year 3 class called 3SA, and this is where Flora sits in her result compared to every other student in this class. So those little pop-ups are very useful to get a very quick little graph or graphic look at the assessment results for that assessment. I'm just going to call up another map called the Year 3 map, and this is a map that we use for reporting at the end of semester, and this map contains basically every subject that we are reporting on for that year level. We have a running record column in there, and that's for reference only, and you can tell that it's for reference only because it's in a lighter grey color, meaning that it's read only. This little blue triangle in the corner means a teacher has put a comment against that student's result. So if I double click on that cell, we do get the graph, but we also get access to the comment that the teacher entered. So as we go across the list, you can see that we've got all these different items, including comments, classroom behavior, that is selected from a drop-down list. The comments that go in here, when you click on that, allow you to type in any number of comments, and you can also select them from your comment bank. This is an incomplete comment bank, but we can have as much information in here as we like. Let's just say we want to add that comment in, we want to add that comment in. Let's say this semester we must, and there we go. And that's the comment now entered for student achievement. So this is all set up as part of the map, and when we look at the map itself, and we go to map settings, you'll see we've got very straightforward setup here. We've got running records for 2014 term 2, and it's read-only. It's non-editable because that's unticked, followed by English, Maths. This is all for 2014 semester 2. Things like work habits, we've selected comments from the result type to show, which means we'll be able to type in comments for the achievement section of our report, and that will automatically get filled in on the report when we do the printout. We have the ability to type in the number of days absent as opposed to using GradeXpert to take attendance. We can set up work habits for students in each of the specialist subjects as well. And where we have teacher name required, this little tick on teacher name required tells us that we're expecting to see the teacher name selected. So what we're doing here is we're saying, alright, who is the classroom teacher for 3SA? And you would just select their name from the drop-down list. And that is a name that will then appear on the student report, where we have designed the report layout to pull that information out of the effort comment or the effort progress selection that has been made. As we go across, you can see there are a few more. It says select teacher for each of these specialists, because the specialist teachers are obviously different to the classroom teachers. You can just click select teacher there as well, and we can say whoever the teacher is. Now, when you're entering information into a map, you have a number of useful shortcuts. One of the most useful ones is the downfill or the autofill. So if I choose, say, a score, just move off it and come back on. If I want everyone in this class to have that score, so that I don't have to select one on each row, you can just right click on the score you want to copy and choose the option that says autofill with that value. And what GradeXpert will do is it will overwrite whatever data you've got in there with that value of 1. And here you can see now we can go in and say, alright, well, Miranda didn't score 1, she scored 1.5. So you can come back and adjust the exceptions once you've done that autofill for any of these columns. And this autofill works for any column. If I right click on the drop down selection that I made very good, then everyone gets very good except for Miranda, who gets excellent. And well done, Miranda. When you've finished entering, or even as you're entering information, it's always useful to click the Save Results button, because what that will do is take any information in the map which isn't actually saved until you click Save Results, and it will save any updated or new information to each student's history, so that when you either reload the map or you look at the report or the student history, you'll be able to see that information in exactly the same format as you've entered it over here. I just want to go back to, let's say, 2015 semester 1 science, for example. We've got the 3 different science learning areas, and we've got a comment that the science teacher can type in. So this is an example of a student map that's been set up for a specialist teacher. Specialist subject, of course, is science, and the science teacher would only need to see this map. They're not interested in any of the other subjects, they're not interested in any of the other comments or learning areas. So this is a very easy way just to give teachers access to only the information that they need to see at a particular time. And what we can do here is we can say, alright, I want to see every single student, let's say not in the whole school, but let's say our year 4s, our year 5s, and our year 6s. So what I'm doing now is I'm loading up these 306 students who are in our senior school, and then we'll be able to see and enter their science subject outcomes for 2014 semester 2 or 2015 semester 1, whatever information we choose to make available on the map. So you can see how flexible these maps are to be able to display or enter information for any subject. It's a much more I suppose structured way of entering information than using the enter results in list option. Enter results in list requires the teacher to select an assessment and to select the date or term or week of that set of results. So the enter results in list option is really good for ad hoc results entry, but if you want to use a more formalized way or a more formalized structure of entering data into GradeXpert, your GradeXpert admin person at the school can set up a number of different maps with specific assessments already selected, with specific dates or months or terms or semesters already set up, and that information then just gets entered by teachers without them having to do anything else except select the map and start typing the information in. When you're looking at a map, and here we're looking at our year 4, 5s and 6s, you can even filter it down based on indicators that have been set up for students. So now we're putting our science in, but let's say we want to see just our EAL students in those year levels. There we go, it's just the 4 students. These are our 4 EAL students, and we've now taken our full student list that we were looking at before and filtering it out just to see students matching a specific indicator or part of a specific group. And this has got a number of different options. For example, if you were entering English assessment outcomes, you could tick EAL to say, I just want to see the students who are English as additional language, or you could even exclude students who are English as additional language because you may not want to put in the English results here. They may have different assessments for EAL. So you can say exclude students who are not EAL. And here you can see the 302 students left in our senior school are the non-EAL students, and you can safely enter their English data knowing that their information is non-EAL related. So we'll just wait until that comes up fully, and then we'll show you a few more tricks. So you can see that this red one selected means that we're excluding any EAL students, and these are the 302 students left. If you wanted to search for a specific student in this list, you could do it a couple of ways. You could certainly scroll up and down and find their name, because at the moment we're sorting by their surname. You can sort by their first name, by their class, by their current age, or of course any of these result columns. But you can quite easily just type any part of the student's name into the search box below the student list. So let's type in CHRIS. So now we can see Christopher Key, Christine Wall, and Ellis Christian. I just wanted to find Christine Wall, so I'm just going to type in Chris W. And you can see that this list filters down to see just one student's set of results. So that search box is a very easy way to find a single student in a long list, whether you're looking at a map or just looking at a student list. I'm just going to go back to just grouping just by, say, one class. Let's get rid of this filter. So these are all 26 students in class 3SA, and I'm just going to see I'm going to see if I can change this to see our 2014 data. So what I'm going to do, I'm not interested at the moment in 2015 data. I'm going to say 2014 semester 2, and I'm going to click this apply to all button, which will overwrite whatever date settings we've got in this list. So you can see after I click it, everything goes to match what we've set up here, 2014 semester 2. And the other thing that you can do is make different maps available to different staff members. So you may choose to make a semester 1 science map available to just the science teacher. So let's say Derek is the science teacher. Derek now will be the only one who can see this map and who will be able to access the information in the map. You can make the map available to everyone in the school, or specific groups of users, or no one at all, which is used when you're setting up maps and you haven't yet, you have chosen to not yet make it available to everyone else in the school. So we're looking now at 2014 semester 2. Science obviously isn't taught at year 3 level here. Let's just bring up a year 6 class, see if it comes up there. So now you can see some of the scores for science for our year 6s in 2014 semester 2. At any point when you're in a map, you have the print map option. Let's just include the school logo and click print map. And that's basically a printout of exactly what you see on screen. There are all the different scores. There are the students in the list. If there were any comments that had been entered, they would show up in the comments column. As before, you can sort this list by any column just by clicking on the column heading. You can double click on any value to bring up a graph. You can even enter comments directly into the screen just by clicking the edit result comments. If I go back to our map settings, you'll notice we've got an option here to include previous semester. And what this will do is it will automatically put in a copy of each test that we've set up, and we're saying we want to be able to look at last semester's result. So I'm going to say include previous semester all, and the difference between include previous semester all and include previous semester OSVALs is that OSVALs will only take the OSVAL subjects and show previous semesters. I'm just going to say include previous semester all. And what you can see now is, for example, Science Understanding 2014 semester 1 has been added in, non-editable, and semester 2 is our existing one, followed by Science as a Human Endeavour semester 1 read only. So this is really just a shortcut to having to add every assessment a second time manually to be able to see growth from one semester to another or from one term to another. Let's have a look at how that comes up. There we go. So now we can see our semester 1 data followed by our semester 2 data for 2014. Different science subject, semester 1 and 2, and science inquiry, semester 1 and semester 2. In fact, along with our comments for semester 1 and semester 2, all on the same screen. Again, we can print this map out quite easily, and that will show us last semester's data, this semester's data. Now, in our upcoming update, version 8.1, you'll actually be able to add a third column in there to automatically graph the growth between these two semester results. And that means that GradeXpert will automatically work out how many years worth of growth a student has made and show you on a list, and also be able to graph that so that you can quite easily see students who are achieving the expected growth or below or above the expected growth. Now there are a few other things that you can do with these maps. Firstly, you can give maps extended descriptions, and this is often used to give a lot more information about what the map is intended to be used for. And this is information that's used really by teachers. So even though this is just a science one, it's reasonably self-explanatory. I'll just put a sample description in here. So this science map is used to science subject scores and comments, and also see previous semesters science data. And so that just tells teachers a bit more information about that. So if we save and close, you'll see now there's a button that's popped up that says View Extended Description. We can see details of what has been typed in there. And when we print the map, we can actually include the map extended description as well, so that we have a bit of guidance over here about what the map contains and how it's meant to be used. Just going to go back into our map settings screen. You've got a couple of other options down here. Delete a map. That's fairly self-explanatory, but keep in mind that when you delete a map, you are not deleting any actual test results. You are just deleting the representation of those results in this map. So if you delete a map, none of the data that you've already entered for any of these subjects will be removed or deleted. They will still be available in the student's history, and you can access them in a variety of different ways. You can even just create a new map with that same assessment and year, term, week, and semester, and you'll be able to see that same information. The create duplicate map is also fairly self-explanatory. What this will do is create a copy of the map that you're currently busy with. So you may have a map template or a standard map that you use for everything, and then you just may want to make copies of that and adjust the copy. So for example, you may have a map containing all the subjects, including specialist subjects, that your staff teach each semester. You could say create a duplicate map and call it science only. So let's try that. I'm not going to look at my science map. Let's look at my year 3 map. And this contains all my different assessments: English, maths, effort, class, behavior, and my specialist subjects down here. Let's say I just wanted to make this for my specialist subjects. I could say create a duplicate map, and the duplicate map name now says copy of whatever that map was. So I'm going to call this year 3 map specialist comments, and I want to get rid of all my test results and just leave the comments in. So I just remove all these different items: English, maths, effort, class, behavior. I just want these items left in there. In fact, I want my comments in there as well. So these are the progress judgments. Let's change that to just comments. Of course, we could have both progress and comments just by adding in these items a second time. So I've created a duplicate map. When I save it, I can then click on my student map button to display that information. There we go. Specialist comments is the latest one. And now we can put in our art comment, our Japanese comment, music, and PE. So there are a lot of ways that you can use existing maps that you've already set up and just create a duplicate and adjust the name and the content without having to recreate each map that's quite similar from scratch each time. Alright, that mostly covers the different areas of using maps and setting up maps in GradeXpert. Just like to find out if anyone has any questions, and if you do, you can just type them into the comment box or the chat box in your TeamViewer panel on your screen. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in now. I feel that we've covered as much as student maps have to offer. There are some enhancements to maps that we are including in our next update. Those obviously will be made available to everyone who's using GradeXpert already, and that will be available at the start of term 4 this year. Alright, well, if no one has any questions, we may leave it there. As usual, this video it is being recorded and we'll make it available for download in the next day or two. We already have our previous webinars and additional training videos uploaded to our website, and that is available via the link that we had sent out a few weeks ago, where you can access the training videos. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for your time and attention, and we will see you at our next webinar. So thank you everybody, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.